Nearly 80% of companies experience supply chain disruptions every year, but most only discover them after the damage is done, when production delays and revenue losses are unavoidable. Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole, and I'm here with my teammates, Chloe, Clement, Abe, and Leo. We are the Weightless Agents, and today we'll be presenting our Gemini powered autonomous supply chain resilience agent. Given that companies struggle to detect and respond to supply chain disruptions in real time, we asked a simple question. What if supply chains could detect disruption signals before revenue is lost? That's what we built, Weightless Agent, a multi-agent AI system that detects disruption signals, analyzes operational risk, and generates mitigation strategies. For a typical mid-market manufacturer, this can prevent 3 million in revenue loss, 5 million in inventory optimization, and 1 million in logistics cost reduction. But why is the problem getting worse? Supply chains are entering an era of permanent disruption. Today, nearly 79% of companies still lack real time visibility across their supply network. And there has been a 38% increase in global supply chain disruptions. Most manufacturers detect disruptions too late to prevent operational damage. So the question becomes how can we detect disruptions earlier?
So now you might be wondering, what's our solution then? Let me introduce you to the Weightless Agent, our AI-driven multi-agent architecture for supply chain resilience. At the very top, we have the master agent, which is kind of like the boss, which orchestrates the full workflow from perception to risk analysis, planning, and action. It takes in user input, enterprise, or ERP signals, as well as external news APIs, allowing the platform to combine internal company context with real-world disruption signals. The perception agent continuously monitors and interprets incoming information, especially live news and supplier-related signals, in order to detect risks early. The risk intelligence agent then assesses severity by estimating disruption probability, operational impact, revenue at risk, and running scenario simulations. Next, planning agent generates mitigation strategies, and the action agent turns them into execution-ready outputs, such as email drafts, purchase order adjustments, executive alerts, and mitigation tracking. Overall, the Weightless Agent is more than just a monitoring tool. It is an end-to-end decision support system that connects live disruption detection with enterprise-aware analysis and AI-generated mitigation. So that's the architecture behind the platform. The question now becomes, why does this matter operationally? This slide shows the shift we are enabling from a traditional reactive response model to a proactive AI-driven resilience model. On the left is the traditional response: late visibility, fragmented data, manual investigation, and slow decision-making, all of which delay mitigation and put revenue at risk. Whereas on the right, we have a weightless agent, which detects disruptions in real time, analyzes their impact, simulates response options, and delivers personalized mitigation recommendations tailored to the company's specific supply chain needs so that teams can act faster and more efficiently. All will help organizations to detect earlier, mitigate faster, and prevent revenue loss. Here we're showing a high-level overview of the tech stack behind the Weightless Agent as a Google AI-powered proof of concept. For the front end, we use React Invite to deliver the UI and the input flow. And at the center of the workflow, we can see our master agent, which walks through the four key pillars of our architecture, which are perception, reasoning, planning, and finally action. However, what makes this a strong Google AI proof of concept is that each of these agents are powered by Google Gemini via Vertex AI, using Google's generative AI models as the reasoning layer behind the system. We also plan on implementing memory in the future via PostgreSQL, which uses the relational database functionality on Google Cloud. And now we'll show you a demo of what our top agent system is capable of.
Let me quickly walk you through how our supply chain resilience system works. On the left, we start with the mock company, Volt Edge Controls, which operates in the industrial electronics and IoT sector. They generate about 38 million in revenue and rely on microcontrollers as a critical component for their products. These components have a 69-day lead time and are sourced from China, so even small delays can create major operational risks. Now, the system continuously monitors global signals affecting supply chains. Here, in the live disruption feed, the system detects a 10-day shipping delay from China to Canada. Clicking on it will launch a risk analysis. Behind the scenes, our perception agent gathers real-time signals like logistic distributions and supplier context. Then, the risk intelligent agent models the operational and financial impact. The results show up in the risk assessment dashboard. In this case, the system calculates a risk score of 90, which is critical, with $750,000 in revenue potentially at risk, and a 65% chance of stockout if no action is taken. Next, the system evaluates different mitigation options. We simulate 3 strategies: status quo, agile diversion, and maximum resilience. Each option is scored based on cost, service level, and resilience. Based on those trade-offs, the system recommends the agile diversion strategy, which provides the strongest protection against the disruption. Finally, instead of automatically executing anything, the platform generates draft actions for the user to review. For example, it prepares a supplier email, suggests an emergency purchase order for 3,000 microcontrollers, and even drafts an escalation to leadership if the financial risk is high. So under a minute, the system goes from detecting a disruption, quantifying the risk, evaluating solutions, and preparing real actions for the operations team. The feedback at the end can be used to improve future recommendations. On the right side is our reasoning trace, which shows the thinking process for all of our agents.
With increased autonomy comes increased risk, so we identified 3 major implementation risks. First, autonomous action risk. The agent drafts supplier emails and PO suggestions, but it never executes procurement. For any high-risk action, we add approval gates, and severe cases follow a clear escalation path. Second, non-reproducible decisions. We avoid a black box by attaching a time-stamped reasoning trace, surfacing KPI drivers behind the risk score, and showing a trade-off comparison between options. Third, bias and hallucination. Recommendations are grounded in objective KPIs, and we enforce no fabrication. If evidence is insufficient, the agent says so.
Let me briefly walk you through the implementation roadmap. We rolled this out in 3 phases. The first one being product hardening, where we strengthen the agent architecture. Secondly, being early deployment and go-to-market, where we onboard pilot customers. And thirdly, feedback optimization and scaling. Our initial target customers are mid to large manufacturers with complex supplier network. These companies often face frequent production disruptions, but already have operational data available. Then our sales strategy is to use 3 complementary channels. First, direct sales, targeting supply chain executive through account-based outreach. Secondly, consulting partners, where operations and supply chain advisory firms embed our platform within transformation projects. And third, a platform ecosystem, integrating with logistics provider with ERP systems to create scalable distribution. Our revenue model is a subscription-based platform. Customers typically pay $50K to $150K annually, depending on the size of their supply network, with additional revenue from expansion modules such as additional supplier monitoring, advanced risk analytics, and ERP integrations. Overall, about 70% of our revenue come from subscription, with the remainder from expansion module and implementation services. Now moving on to financial impact.
Now, wrapping things up with the finances. On the left, we break disruption into 4 major buckets. The biggest driver is production delays, but we also have emergency logistics, supplier switching costs, and inventory buffer costs. The value of our agent comes from reducing the need for reactive firefighting. We translate that into 3 measurable sources of annual value. We predict 2 to 3 million from revenue loss prevented, 500 to 800,000 in logistics savings, and 2.5 to 5 million from inventory optimization. Overall, that's a total potential impact of roughly 5 to 9 million per company per year. And it reinforces our core thesis. An explainable, rule-bounded, human-approved agent can deliver real operational ROI.